Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Today we're going to be looking at Tom Clancy's The Division, and we're going to be looking at the near future. So this is pretty much in relation to some of the things that we've been talking about, and if you look at everything, I believe that The Division 2 still has hope to regain itself and bring itself back to a relevant game and pull its player base back, because there are going to be a lot of players who will be happy to come back to The Division and play it in 2020 and wait for a lot of the new releases to go on sale. Financially, for a lot of people, it's actually better if your game that you already paid $60 for in March of this year is pumping out new content, is relevant to you. You would rather play that game for a few more weeks, a few more months, and then when these other games that are coming out in droves in March and April show up, you would have kind of waited them out till you get them in sale. So why did I say The Division 2 has, hope? Now, yes, the game is in a very strange place. It's not a bad game, but in the sense of an ongoing game, it doesn't meet the standard of what an ongoing game is. And that's a game that continues to bring out content, events, activities that are relevant and feel fresh to the community. Now, some people have said, and including myself, that The Division 2 needs to get its act together because it does not want to go into next year's Q2 in a mediocre state. In fact, even Q1 is already pushing it. Q1 being our January, February, March, April. So let's just say the first half actually of Q1, because that Q1 is a little dicey. So what I've done is I've opened up this IGN article that has the list of upcoming 2020 games from January through March, and we're gonna look at the titles together, and we're gonna see if there's some titles that actually kind of sort of work in that sense. Like, okay, are these titles going to be titles that compete against the Division 2, or is the Division 2 going to be okay regardless of these titles? Like, are they going to compete against the division, against Tom Clancy's The Division for its player base? I think that's the best way for us to go right now. So if we look at everything, if we say, okay, what are we looking at in January? January does not seem at all threatening to the Division in terms of what kinds of games will be coming out. January, we have Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, I don't know how you call it. That game is geared towards the fighting game community. It's a very small community, and even within its small community, there are other fighting games that makes it a much more micro community. If you're wondering where I'm getting my analysis from, I own a video game channel that is based around fighting and action games, and I cover Mortal Kombat 11 there, and I can tell you that is a very small community. You have Mega Man, you have Buildings Have Feelings 2, Journey to the Savage Planet, Pillars of Eternity 2. That might be something that takes some people away, but I don't think a lot of people are going to jump in on that from the Division community, but you never know. And then you have Monstrum. So January seems like a pretty safe month, and that makes sense because in January, a lot of companies do not release their games in that month because people are just coming from the holidays. People are trying to recuperate some cash back and all that stuff. Now, February, though, is quite interesting. February has like a lot of re-releases. Street Fighter V, the Champion Edition, that has everything unlocked. For those of you who, want to get the sweat and work of everybody for 4 years, you can pay $24.99. You can get it all. You can get Bayonetta. Bayonetta has a huge fan base, and Vanquish. Vanquish is a third-person shooter from back in the day. Those are coming out February 18th. There are a lot of games, and I'm just naming the ones that I feel like will be, kind of somewhat of a challenger. Then you have Yakuza 5 and Yakuza Remastered Collection. I still don't think February has a lot that would attract the Division, people, RPG shooter type game. So this is, I think, the month that Massive is gunning to bring out the year 2 content. So it's this window that I want to discuss, because this window is a very critical window for them. So they have to do everything right in this small window. And if they do it right, then they have a relevant game that can actually run players another 2.5, even 3 months of keeping their game relevant, keeping people playing their game. Yes, they will take a big, hit in April. If you look at the way April is also, no. March, let's not even do April. Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out in March. So they have to bring a product that can convince Final Fantasy 7 fans that are in the Division community to still hang on to their game while playing Final Fantasy, because you're not going to stop, Final Fantasy fans from playing Final Fantasy 7 Remake. That's not going to happen. They're going to go play it. But how are you going to convince them to say, okay, still hold on to my game? Well, I know how you can do it. You can put exotics out there. You can put new gear sets out there. You can put new content out there. And yes, they'll play Final Fantasy 7, but once they kind of take a breather from Final Fantasy 7, they'll come check out the Division 2. That is one way to do it. My Hero 1's Justice 2, I don't know what that is. Somebody, say in the comment section. And then March 20th, Doom Eternal. So this is the window that I feel like they need to be bringing out some really cool stuff. Like, they need to make sure February lands strong. Kingsley College needs to be open forever. I heard it cycles out. I played the first Kingsley College and I got my, diamond back and I was out. I didn't touch it again. But, the new Kingsley College needs to look like something that, has some specific rewards in it. I mean, come on. Even if they say, oh, yeah, you have a 4% chance to get the Eagle Bearer from Kingsley College, do you know how many people would jump in on that thing? I mean, that is one way to take the content that's already available and start making gear accessible. Right now, keeping the Eagle Bearer exclusive to the raid doesn't really help, because that's an 8-man thing. A lot of people might say, I don't want to play the raid anymore. They say, well, I can't play the raid, so how else am I going to get it? People will come back to try to get themselves that Eagle Bearer, if you understand what I mean. So there are ideas that they can put out. I'm not saying, Eagle Bearer is the sole purpose, but these are ideas. But then if they don't make that window, this is the one thing that I, fear, that if they don't actually make this window work, what are they looking at? They're looking at March 2020 and April 2020. That is what everybody is worried about, because this is the, the Q1 that we're talking about. It's that first half of Q1 that they have the opportunity, because by March, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Neo 2, Doom Eternal, Persona 5, these games are going to take a lot of Division people. And then by April, it's over. If they don't have a relevant game that's making a solid comeback, they're looking at Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 3 actually has a multiplayer. I think it's going to be co-op. And if it's third person, a lot of people are going to jump in on that as well. Cyberpunk 2077, you bet that Division will see a dip in participation and audience retention. Predator Hunting Grounds. Have you guys seen the trailer for that game? That game is absolutely stunning in the concept that we were shown, and that concept looked like gameplay. It didn't just look like, oh, some high-tech trailer. It looked like full-on gameplay. You're a third-person character playing Predator. I'm looking at that game like, yeah, I'm probably gonna be playing this game in some sense. And then you look at May 2020, Avengers, Marvel Avengers, which is, I think, a direct a game that is directly trying to appeal to the Division 2 and Destiny and Borderlands players. I made a video on this a while ago, because from what I've seen from this Marvel Avengers game, it's RPG. You go farm, you do missions where missions drop rewards. You do missions again and missions continue to drop rewards. And if Square Enix and I think Crystal Dynamics, if they're playing their cards right and they want to use all the formulas of what's worked in Destiny and the Division, this game is probably going to be eating some of their players as well. And so if you think about all of this, it makes a whole lot of sense to say that there's still some hope. There's a glimmer of hope for the Division 2 to be able to make an effective return. But at the same time, that window is too small. They cannot risk not making it up, not making the right choices. Even if they come out with a plan of action saying, this is what we're planning on doing, because they've made all these innuendos and assertions and, kind of tipping the hat to, like I think Frederick Thailander said in a state of the game, we've been looking at some things about movement, and then that was it. They didn't say anything more about that. And I'm thinking to myself, this is where you need to sit down and talk extensively and say, we know that the PvP community has talked about the movement system in the game, and we've actually decided to go back and take a look at it, and we're working on a potential, transformation of the movement system. And we don't know when we're going to be finished with it. We want it to be satisfactory. And, hopefully we're able to bring it to the point where we bring it out for testing and you guys can see it. Come on. Can somebody take that down and send it to them? It's free. Don't worry. Don't pay me for it. It's a free speech. You can have it and just tell the community that. And I feel like people will feel like they're respected. You understand what I mean? I feel like the communication that they say, that they're always kind of cautious. There are ways that you can sound vague and say a whole bunch of words that will comfort somebody, and they just know that you're thinking about them. If you understand what I mean. And at the same time, you're also saying you're not promising anything. You're just saying that we're trying to work on this to get to a point where, players are going to like it. You're putting the player in mind. Man, you know what? Do I have to coach people how to be community managers? Anyways, that's why I made this video, man. I mean, I know many of you are like, oh my gosh, you're being a downer and all that. I'm like, guys, this is what I do. I've been doing this since the Division 1. When the Division 1 was struggling and the Division 1 was not making any headway, I was making videos talking about these issues. So it doesn't I could go, like I said, I could go cover another game, but I really want to see this game succeed. When you place your bets on something and you want to remain loyal to that thing, you stick with it. You stay with it. As a content creator, yes, we're here, for us to be able to at least make some content and be able to get some financial gain. So I don't slide anybody for going to another game or whatever. I mean, you're taking extra time to do this. You could go get another job and change your whole resume and make more money and get, peace of mind. But you want to do this because you love doing it. You have to read crappy comments. You have to deal with, all that stuff because it's just what you enjoy doing. So, and I'll be very happy because I know once this game does well, a lot of content creators will be happy to pick it back up and come back into the, community and talk about the game and keep the game relevant on YouTube's algorithm, keep the game relevant in people's minds, and maybe even start pulling people who are saying, should I even pick up this game? And then they're coming into the game and the game's numbers are increasing. It's not like the game's going to go back to where, it had its huge peak of, players, but the hardcore community will still sit here and grind. And so that's why I'm making this video. So I hope, Ubisoft and Massive understand what is at stake for them, because even just Q1 alone is just not going to be forgiving to them. And then, if you decide to go further than Q1, you look at all the other games that are coming out all the way through the end of this year. I just hope they don't go, botch this whole thing, man. I'm really hoping that, this does very well, because to be very honest with you guys, man, I want this game to do well because it's the game that we love. And if you're listening to this video, you like this game enough to even listen to this video, as well. So that's all I have for today. Thank you very much for your time and audience. Thanks for listening and watching the video. I appreciate you guys so much. And I guess I'll see you in my next video. Peace.